come down 16, 25, whatever. To have fortitude in this kind of game, is it almost the same thing? Is it just toughness to compete?
Yeah, it is. We got out to a bad start, to need big stops down the stretch, to have to execute in end of regulation, end of first overtime, early second overtime, just to keep fighting and understand the importance of the execution and big time rebounds, and not just execution on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, and staying with it. Although they're making some tough shots, and James made the one from the top, and then Embiid made one, and then we doubled Embiid, and Melton made one in front of our bench. So to kind of withstand all of that shows a lot of character in that locker room.
Prior to the game, I asked you about Kevin as the extension of you on the floor, and tonight, from an emotional standpoint, what did you see from him take on the defensive challenge, just being a leader overall?
Yeah, he did great. He, again, he's been so even this year with his emotions, and the team feeds off that for sure. And he ran the game. There were times where, like I said, I just let him do his thing, and he got everybody in the right spots. He got to his pick and roll game, or gave it to Jalen and let Jalen attack with his pick and roll game. He looked like he tweaked something towards the end, but stayed in the game, got hit in the face, stayed in the game, really got after it defensively. I don't know how many rebounds he ended up with, 6. So, yeah, he had a complete game, and we needed all of that, but it's the steadiness that he gives our group that's super important.
How big was it for you guys to get those 2 3-pointers early in the second overtime to kind of get a little bit of space from them?
It was very big. I mean, we were fighting and moving the ball really well, and to have some of those shots go, especially early in an overtime, give yourself some cushion, give yourself some confidence.
Just how impactful was Tari Eason in his minutes tonight off the bench? You let him get a couple minutes there in crunch time, near the end of regulation.
Huge. Sorry. Huge. I mean, he just has a knack of getting the basketball. I mean, whether it's on the floor or they tried to make an entry pass to the elbow and he stole that, and comes up with big rebounds, made a few threes tonight. Yeah, a couple. He's always around the basketball, and with that comes more trust and more minutes, I assume.
What about your other rookie, Jabari Smith Jr., the way that he came through tonight? It seemed like he was just willing to take on the challenges, and especially from a young guy going up against veterans like that.
He's like, he's so good. He's so much fun to coach because he's selfless and he kind of does what's needed. Tonight we needed him to defend and rebound and make an open shot, and he did that. And when he doesn't get shots, he doesn't force it or pout or anything. He just keeps playing, and then he'll take the opportunities that are given him. So that's what you want. You want a guy that's just out there selfless and doing whatever's necessary, especially a rookie.
In timeouts during overtime, does your strategy change at all from, timeouts during a regulation game that's maybe not as tight? Are you trying to draw up plays and think of different scenarios every time, or are you just kind of look, just see what happens? Usually the timeouts are shorter, so I can't really get into too much, and so it's a minute 15 timeout, and half of it is defense and half of it's we tried to stay in our pick and roll game, so I just told him to stay space, get to the pick and roll, use the clock, and it was more about the defense in that situation in the overtimes.
Jalen
You said before the game that the whole season's about growth. To have these recent games, Atlanta, Phoenix, this one, maybe even down the stretch with Golden State, how valuable a lesson comes from games like these rather than the others?
Rather than which ones?
Oklahoma City or Orlando, but those weren't as close. But
yeah,
these tough ones.
It's huge for our confidence, and anytime that you spend as much time as we do teaching and developing, you want to see the fruits of that. And with that comes not only confidence for the players, but confidence in kind of how we do things in our culture. So, yeah, that's the big part is when you kind of fight through these games and beat some good teams, and you're like, oh, we're moving in the right direction.
Coach, what does these last couple of wins that you guys have been able to get, what does it mean to you? Because I remember early on in the year you kept saying this team is developing, but unfortunately it wasn't showing in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot. It means a lot. I want what's best for them, right? So for them to continue to fight and lose games, that's not great. That doesn't feel good when they go home, and it doesn't feel good when we're at practice. So we definitely don't take, I guess, because of what we went through the first 10 games of the season, we definitely don't take stuff like this for granted. We feel good about it, but it does like kind of set a foundation for us moving forward.
I know this game was so long, it's probably hard to remember, but in the first quarter when you guys started out slow yet again, do you remember what you told them to kind of get them back on track or keep them on track?
No, I don't. That was a long time ago. That feels like it was yesterday. But, you know, we've been there before. We knew we were going to get back into the game, and I think we made a couple threes or a 3 and then a 2 and got back. So we don't waver when it comes to getting down early, which is a double-edged sword.
So you're in this stretch where you have been able to pick up some of these big wins. What have you learned that you feel like has worked late in these games here?
Yeah, kind of just simplifying things for the group as far as our defense and our offense. Just kind of staying in pick and roll, and we had Eric handling, we had Jalen handling, and we had Scoot handling, and I thought Alpie did a really good job of screening towards the end of the game. He also did a good job defensively, even though he fouled out. You know, it was a hard game for him. But yeah, down the stretch, just try to keep it simple for our guys. I don't want to muddle the game up for them.
To your point about them being rewarded, the hard work being rewarded by the wins, are you sensing more confidence in them of late in terms of how they handle things down the stretch of games?
Yeah, I mean, shoot. A month ago, we probably wouldn't have won this game. And we stayed in it and got confidence as the game went along and stayed with it. And we continued to do that, continue to harp on the same things as far as playing hard and playing together. And yeah, and again, if James's shot at the end goes in, that doesn't take away from the game that we played. I mean, we are starting to get the results, but it's how we're doing it. So you can't like not want to put a whole lot into the game if you lose, and then put a whole lot into it if you win. You want to just really think about how you're doing things and what you're doing, and make sure you're doing it right, and the results will come.
Coach, his defense, he played probably close to 12 minutes with 5 fouls, and that's against Embiid in Harden. How was he able to avoid getting that 6th foul for so long, and what does that tell you just about him moving forward with that he can do? Yeah,
I mean, he was really conscious of it, but the thing about Alpie tonight was, even though, and for young guys, this is really hard. When you have 5 fouls, usually you get less aggressive, right? And you're trying to like move out of the way or not trying to get that 6th foul. And he was very aggressive. He was bumping and holding, and as penetration came, he was getting to his verticality and just playing. And that says a lot about him and where he could be defensively. But he put a lot into this game on the defensive end, and that was one of the main reasons we won.
Coach,
Coach, how did you feel about
go ahead.
how did you feel about the physicality